He was just putting his toe in the water just to
He
see
was.
how far he could go. Before the
Yeah.
night was over, he would have pulled out his cell phone and been on YouTube watching bestiality videos if he felt if she made him comfortable enough to do that. I think
Yep.
it was the best.
The Best Is Yet to Come is a podcast about dating later in life. It's co-hosted by Tanya Carter, Brenda Yamas, and me, Richard D'Ambrosio. We're all exploring dating from a fun but sophisticated, sexy, and smart perspective. And we're going to be tackling every issue that mature men and women face while seeking love, companionship, and yes, sex. So you can follow us on our private Facebook group and on our YouTube page. Please join us in this discussion about one of the most important things a human being can have, a relationship with a significant other. Welcome to Best Is Yet to Come. We are talking today about conversation killers, things that you should never do or say on a date unless you have prior permission. I am welcoming you tonight only with my dear friend Tanya Carter. Hey.
Hello.
Are you ready for Christmas?
I am. I really am.
Good. We are missing.
Are you?
I'm getting there. I've got 2 more presents I've got to wrap up.
Okay.
And they're pretty simple. I just got to find the time over the next couple of days to do it. But Brenda is not with us because she was traveling in order to kind of manage her life. And unfortunately, the travel gods were not in her favor. So she is stuck somewhere that she could not be taping with us tonight. So we are instead of our menage a trois, it is just Tanya and I.
Hey, we just working it out. We miss you, Brenda.
Yeah, have Merry Christmas, Brenda. Get home safe. Get home safe. So we're going to be talking about conversation killers. We are talking about how people can screw up a date through saying things that just don't fit. And sometimes when you hear what people say, you smack your forehead, Tanya, and you say, what the hell were they thinking? And so these are conversation killers. Things that we say that if we had thought about it before it came out of our mouth, we could have saved ourselves a lot of grief. So, my dear, have you had some conversation killers? Have you had occasions where you were like, okay, things are going great, and somebody interrupts it with something stupid?
Of course I have, Richard. I'm 52. I've had some conversations. But I think the number one, I don't know if I can go in numbers, but one of the things that bothers me most are finances. You know, if someone's bragging about how much money they make, like,
Okay.
dude, it's a
Yeah.
cup of coffee, you know?
Right.
Or is this to impress me? Is it, what's the deal? I don't like that.
We asked people to send us their conversation killers, and we'll be getting into them in a second. And I think one of the things that I saw come through as a common theme is what Tanya just said: boasting. If you are boasting, whether it's about how much money you make, whether it's about your career, whether it's with the company you work for,
how big or little you are.
Oh yes, when it comes to
that
penis.
comes up.
Yeah.
I don't know, why would you talk about that in the middle of a date?
So we actually, a couple of women who responded to our request for conversation killers did mention men who very early on had to preface further dates with the size of their penis. Yeah, that's part of boasting, but it's also another theme, which is just being overly sexual too early. Unless you're getting cues that the other person is in this date for sex, why are you bringing up the size of your penis?
Right. If we don't ask, don't volunteer.
Right. See, now it's different for guys, Tanya, because we can see the size of your breasts. So you guys don't have to brag about that.
Well, now, listen.
Oh, am I wrong? Do women have smaller or larger breasts than we can see?
We do. I mean, listen, these bras that we have, I have a miracle bra. Y'all know what I'm talking about from Victoria's
I
Secret.
remember those
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
It was worth every $100 something that I paid for it because my bras, I'm a big girl, so I got to pay for big bras, you know? Women have chicken cutlets in their bras. If you got a good push up bra,
Not real chicken cutlets.
underwire, yeah, we walking around with raw chicken stuffed in our bra,
Okay, I
Richard.
just want to make sure.
You know, we want to turn on all the hungry dogs around us. The little
Re-
gel pads
Reddit or
that look
not?
like the little gel pads, look like chicken
Right.
cutlets. They're flexible.
I
So
remember
we have
those.
the push-up bras, we have the chicken cutlets, the underwire. We
Right.
have so much going. So a little A cup can look like a bigger cup when you're doing some different things with it.
Oh my
So
God. Oh my God. So yes, sexual prowess, sexual size, was another one that came up. There was some really exotic ones in the answers that people gave where it just crushed things. Politics is probably another one. Why are you bringing up politics? Yes, it may be beneficial to you to initially get people out of the prospect of dating you because they may have politics you don't like. But geez, do you really want to start talking about how far left or right you are
you know
early on?
what? I would much rather hear his political stance
Uh-huh.
than how much money he makes.
Yes.
Because listen, he pulling MAGA hat from under the table. I'm going to thank him for uncloaking himself, and I'm going to just exit stage right. So I can take a small, like a minutia, just a small amount
Oh
of
my God.
politics. I don't want to argue about politics,
Right.
but sometimes a political conversation can be very interesting.
Yes.
So he could be a MAGA person, but who is not so deeply invested that he's lost all sensibilities, which I mean, that's an oxymoron in itself, but okay. I know some people who may support Trump and they're still sensible about some things, not as so much into the rhetoric. So I can have a conversation with anyone. I just don't want to be attacked. So I'm a thin line with the politics, but I take some of it. You don't think
So
so?
I dated a woman very briefly. And on the second date, we were having coffee and she works on campus here at West Point Military Academy. She's not a faculty member. She's not administrative staff. She has another job on campus. And she was telling me in the second date about how, do you know how much the government hides from us? And I'm looking at her going, like Area 41, 51, 61. What was the area?
51 is
51, Area
51.
51.
Yeah.
So like Area 51, she goes, worse. There's so much they're hiding from us. I know. I work at West Point. I hear it all. That was
They
a
ask you,
conversation killer.
just ask you,
Total.
do you hear things now? Do you
Well,
have
that's what
little voices inside?
I was worried. I'm like, do you hear voices?
Does she know where the money is planted? Where is the money? Can we access it?
It's like, what is it? Who was that guy, Nicolas Cage, with that movie series that he was in?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to think of National Treasure.
In
Like,
National
do you know where
Treasure.
we can get this money? You
Yeah.
have a map?
Yeah.
Oh
It was
yeah, she's a
hysterical.
psycho.
But seriously, that was it. That was the end of my dating her. I hate to say it. Well, she wasn't really like pinging me, but I never really reached out to her ever again. That was a conversation killer.
Could have at least reached out to her to get the map to find the hidden treasure.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you do believe in conspiracies, you might want to hold off on that. Although, the whole concept that you raised, Tanya, that you might want to just say whatever it is you want to say to just kind of clear the decks and not
Yeah.
waste your time.
Like maybe like the 21 questions, right? You know, the 21 like flashcards.
Right.
Politics, Democrat
Well,
and Republican. Boom.
have you ever
Christian and
heard?
atheist.
Have you ever heard of? I think it's the. I think it's the 31 questions of dating.
I'm going to Google that while you're asking me.
Yeah. What's it? I think it was. I think it. I think it came from the
31
Gottman.
questions to dating.
Yeah. See what you come up with when you Google that, because
I see 31 questions to ask your partner. Would that be the same thing?
actually
Well,
I'm
I'm guess it's different if you're already married.
the 36 questions that lead to love.
I see
There you
that.
go.
That's the number one, the New York Times.
Right. So the 36 questions that lead to love, the whole concept behind it is you're on a date, maybe the first date, whatever, it's early on in the relationship, and you are asking each other these intimate questions, because if you are a match, the way you're answering those questions and the process of answering intimate questions and revealing intimate things will lead to a bonding situation. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing to let it all hang out on a date and not worry about what you're going to say. It's funny though, because I'm looking at a couple of the right now, I'm looking at a couple of the things that people said. So one of them was, I once went on a first date with a guy who talked about his bestiality fantasy.
See, I'm gonna need to know that immediately, so I can dip on out.
Because I'm not sticking around for that one.
No, or sticking anything to go. Yeah, that part.
I mean, so maybe you gotta go with those conversation killers.
So, do we have them take a Myers-Briggs test before they come? I've noticed on Bumble, on the dating site. I noticed, and I already know what my Myers-Briggs. I already know that I'm an ENFJ. ENFJ, yeah, it's what my Myers-Briggs is. It's extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. As I've gotten older, it's changed just a little bit. I think there was a little bit of different where I think I know I've always been extroverted. Judging is just not going anywhere. I'm sorry. The intuitive and the feeling changed a little bit as I got older. I think I'm becoming more. There was something with the T. I can't remember what the T is for ENFJ. But do you know what your Myers-Briggs
I
personality is?
used to a long, long time ago. I did that when I was at American Express, and we had that as a team building thing. We all had to take the test and bring our learnings to the offsite meeting. So, God, that's got to be 15, 16 years ago.
So do we have them say, listen, before we can date, I'm going to need to know what your Myers-Briggs test personality type is.
Jeez.
And then also, here's these 39 questions.
There's a lot to be said for being ready to reveal who and what you are. In this particular case, the woman who had this guy on a first date talking about his bestiality fantasy, it doesn't mean that he did it. I said, so what did you say? What did you do? And she said, I listened politely. I finished my drink, and I started away in my amusing San Francisco anecdote file. So I said, so I'm guessing there was no second date? She said, you'd be correct. He was a clean-cut professional, but for some reason, he felt comfortable sharing this with me. Another one that was offered up by a female.
Can I say this?
Go ahead.
Maybe that was a test to see how she would respond. Because I always wonder how two completely psychotic people get together. So let's think if she was the bunny to his Clyde, right?
Right.
And if she, maybe, it has to be intentional for him to say this. It has to be intentional.
No, you're saying that, Tanya, you're saying that because you're coming at this from a place of, I hate to use the word normal because I think that's a pejorative for a lot of people. You're coming at this from a conventional viewpoint as a human being. Your conventional viewpoint is that most of us find bestiality as an extreme fantasy type. I think there might be people in the world who don't see it that way, which is why they participate in it. And so to them, they don't see the rest of society as shunning them because of this. they still struggle with the fact that the rest of us see it as an extreme. So I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there because I have seen in dating women who posit things to me during a date that I'm like,
Yeah.
you think that's just like conventional, that
I think
everybody
it's a
does that?
strategy.
And I think it's because when you live a certain type of life, it might start to normalize itself, and you just don't think that the person sitting across from you would think any other way.
Listen,
This woman who had the whole conspiracy theories thing, she's probably been living in a conspiracy theory world for a long time, and she figured, of course, he's going to believe what I believe.
and
So
at some point, she's going to find someone who's living in his mother's basement, wearing a shirt that has a big Q on it. And, they're going to find each other, and they can
he's
just be two whack jobs together.
he's
So
on
by
YouTube
him
till 3 a.m.
all night, he may be a little greasy and maybe a little chunky.
Oh,
Hadn't
Scuzzy.
bathed in a couple of days, but he's
Oh,
there. So I do feel like he posed that. There's a possibility
possibly,
that he posed that to her to get her reaction.
very
So
possibly.
if that's one of his must-haves
Right,
or one of his dream women, this is the personality I'm looking for.
right.
That she said, "Oh my God, I've been thinking about that too." Then bingo, he can let it all hang out. Why not? So
Oh
that
my
this
God.
lets him know how far he can take it with her, right?
I guess. I
Because if
guess.
she had said, "Oh, that's interesting," he was just putting his toe in the water just to
He
see
was.
how far he could go. Before
Yeah.
the night was over, he would have pulled out his cell phone and been on YouTube watching bestiality videos if he felt if she made him comfortable enough to do that. I think
Yep.
it was the best.
You
Or
got
he
me.
just completely crazy out his mind.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Now you start to worry about, is he a serial killer? Who knows what else this guy's got going on in that head? Another woman said, I had a date where a guy couldn't stop talking about the size of his feet and his height.
Because big feet, tall men are supposed to have large penises.
And
Your hands and your feet. So that was his way of talking about his penis without saying my penis.
now I'm going to confess, I have every woman I've ever been with has said, you have very large hands.
Richard.
And my shoe size is between a 10 and a half and 11. So I'm just saying.
Okay, Richard. All
I'm
right.
just putting it out there.
So I used to work
Now
with
I
this
am in
girl.
a relationship, so I'm not saying that to attract anybody. I'm just saying I can understand why some men may think that there's a relationship between the two.
Mhm.
And I'm not telling you whether there is or there isn't.
I'm gonna go with that. I worked with this girl one time, and she met this guy, and he said, "I'm gonna tell you this on the first date." Like he worked with her brother, he was a fireman or something. She knew him from just around, however. And she says, imagine this big, tall, redhead Irish guy, looks like a lumberjack. She said, and he said to her, I just want to put this on the table. I know I'm big, I know I'm tall, but I'm hung like a gerbil. And I was like, what? What did he say? Because I just really did. I had never heard that terminology before. I just never heard that, right? So I was sitting there and she's looking at me waiting for it to click. And I was like, what? He's hung like a gerbil. Oh my God, he's hung like a gerbil.
Oh my God.
So he wanted to let her know and that I'm not well endowed. And
Right.
I've gotten these criticisms,
Right.
and it's always led to his embarrassment. So
Well,
he
God
let her
bless
know.
him. I
Yeah.
look at what courage. Total stranger puts it out there and says, where we go with this now has to include your decision about that. Yeah.
So now I want to tell you why I'm a hypocrite.
Okay.
I don't want to hear how big it is. I don't.
Okay.
But for God's sake, let me know how little it is. I'm kidding. Oh, God, help me.
So you might like this guy.
Well, I never know. I would never know.
So
I mean,
I asked this woman who had told us about this guy with his feet and height thing, and actually another female chimed in on the thread and said, "Oh yeah, I had one of those too. All he did was insinuate throughout the date how big he was." So I asked this person, I said, "So what did you think about that? How did you respond?" And then she said, um, it was a total turnoff. He then went on from his feet to politics. And she said, I think he was totally clueless, but three people across the bar clearly were acknowledging the pain on my face.
he just wanted. It sounds like he was set out to ruin the date.
Ah, you
Like
got me.
I mean, to go from that to the politics of it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what else I don't like? Someone who's talking to you, but they're being loud and they're looking over at other diners looking for the reactions. Because this conversation is no longer about you and I. You're trying to make sure everybody in the restaurant or, coffee house or the park, wherever you
Is
are.
aware that he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a conversation killer because even though it's not what you're saying, it's your whole action
Yes.
around that.
I was with a female. It was a single date. And the conversation killer for me with her was it was clear to me that she was not over her divorce. Now, interestingly, I was with another female who talked extensively about her divorce and her ex-husband, and that didn't turn me off. And I'm curious now, why was one a problem for me, but the other wasn't?
Context and tone.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to go back and think about it, but it might have been context and tone. Yeah, this the first one, that to me it was a turn off. I felt like, I don't mind if a woman tells me she's had a bad previous relationship. That doesn't bother me. She's giving you some context about her life. Hopefully, she's worked on it. But if I get the sense that you really have a lot of problems with what happened, that's a conversation killer for me. That you have not by any means worked through the meaning of that relationship. That's a conversation killer.
Yeah, because that means I don't want to. If you mention it and it's just with the briefness,
Right.
but if you're just droning and on about it, yeah.
Well, and you know what? I'm glad you said it that way, because the other woman who her diatribe about her previous marriage went on for like almost an hour. We were in a car driving to a concert, and like when we got in the car, I don't know what initiated this 50-minute description of what happened. But when she started telling me this story, it went on and on and on. And that should have been a red flag for me. Eventually, obviously, we didn't have another date, a couple of dates after that one. But in retrospect, that should have been a huge red flag for me.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
If you're having a bad date
Right.
and you don't want to date this person again,
Right.
do you volunteer why like if
That's a
at the end of
great
the day,
question.
if at the end of the date, do you say, okay, this is nice, but this is not going to work?
Right.
Or, of course, because, we want to have pleasantries at some point. Okay, you didn't have sex, so that next day call is not necessarily, okay? If you slept with someone, then I guess you have to call the next morning and say something. But
Yes, that would
if
be
you
the
just went
decent
out
thing
on
to
a
do.
date and you don't like this person, and I guess because I'm 52, you guys, you work with me, I'm still a little old fashioned where the man asks the woman out.
Okay.
Or even if I ask you for the first coffee, Richard, I'm not going to ask you for a second coffee date. You're going to, at some point, then the ball has to be in your court.
Right.
Because now, it's okay to say, would you like to go out for a drink or whatever? I don't mind a woman asking a man that, but the traditional me would like to be the one who's asked out.
Okay.
So, if I call you back and I say, Richard, would you like to go out again? And we had a bad date, what do you say?
No, I think honesty is always the best policy. I am not going to pat myself on the back because I have not always been courageous enough
Okay.
to just be that open to a woman. But
Okay.
most times I did. Like this one woman who had 5 or 6 kids. I didn't say it in a hurtful manner. What I said to her was, you know, are you sure that you have the time to date somebody? Because I said to her, I am not as tethered as you are. I have a lot more flexibility. You've got school activities for the kids. I think her youngest was 10 or 12 when I was seeing her. And I said to her, her ex was in a situation where he could not help with the kids. And I don't think she had the benefit of in-laws or parents. So, this whole raising these children was on her shoulders. And I didn't want to say to her, just because you've got a lot of children responsibility, I won't date you, because that wasn't it. I said to her, are you sure? Like, what if we want to start seeing each other each week? Are you going to be able to do that? Are you, go to a movie, go out for dinner, just, go to a bar close to your house where we can just have a couple of drinks by the bar and listen to some music or a live band or something? I said to her, are you really able to do that? Because eventually that's where I'm headed, is I want to be with somebody where we can have fairly regular dates, because I would rather be with just one woman than dating 4 women and I only have to see you once a month, which may fit your schedule. And I kind of went, hopefully kindly, in that direction with her to say, I'm not so sure that what I'm looking for and your ability to deliver on it. And she said, I have to think about that, because it was interesting. While we were like a tapas, TAPAS.
I love tapas.
We were at like a tapas bar. So we were kind of like, noshing and, ordering a couple glasses of wine. We were having a great time. And I didn't want to kill the date, but at some point, like 3/4 of the way through, I brought that up. And I hope I did it kindly, because it wasn't meant to chase her away. It was meant to make her think. And she said, I'm not sure what my answer is, because she said, you're right. It's not always easy for me. Now, she did have some older children who could take care of the younger children, but we all know as parents, you still worry. And that might delay your response to an overture for a date. It may mean that you won't go away for a weekend once the relationship starts getting serious. You might be nervous about a Friday night concert that is not going to end till 11 o'clock. And when are you going to get home? And, can you find a babysitter? Those are very practical things. So that can be a conversation killers when you talk about your extensive responsibilities.
Well, I was going to say, wouldn't you know realistically going into it that a woman with that many kids would not be able to accommodate
I didn't
based on
know.
their
I knew
ages?
she was a mom. I knew she was a mom. I think her profile said that she had several children or something like that. I'm a mom of several children. I don't think she went into the numbers.
Yeah.
So I
And I
learned.
think it's more about ages, even so, than numbers, because 3 or 5 is not that big of a difference if they were all 16, 17, and
Right.
18.
My
So when you
youngest is
get to
18
10
now.
and younger, 10 and under, I say younger,
Right.
10 and under, younger, then
I
that
knew
can
what
become a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 3 kids. My youngest is 18. One of them lives with me. Another one's on her own. I mean, I'm untethered.
You
I can
are.
pretty much make the choices I want to make now in my life, which, I'm looking for somebody like that. And the woman that I'm with currently is in the same situation. She's really untethered. She's got lots of freedom. And so that works. Here's something again, that guys, please don't do this. And women, don't do this either. So a friend of mine said, since she's a redhead, Someone wanted
Does the
thought that
carpet match the curtains or something stupid shit like that?
yes. Who says that?
The people on Modern Family. I have never heard that phrase until I watched Modern Family. So he basically sounds like a silly sitcom asking that question. And you know what? Here's the thing about it.
Hmm.
Um, it's the type of men who ask this are such assholes that they don't even really realize it's a insult. There
How
was
could
something
you
I was
not know it's an insult? How could you not
he told
know?
you he was an asshole. I read something where the Me Too movement started, and one guy said, "Everything I say to women is offensive. How do I know what to say to them? What do I say?" And so the one lady said, "Talk to them. Just think they're a man and talk to them like you would talk to a man. You don't walk up and touch a man. You don't tell a man he smells good or he's pretty.
You don't
And it's
ask
not the
him.
women
You
don't
don't
want to.
ask him if his carpet matches the curtains.
Yes, the drapes or whatever it is that they say. This is true.
Oh
What do
my
you
God.
say? How do you?
I why the hell, A, does that even matter? B, you think you have a woman in front of you who wants to answer that question? I don't get it. Someone on that thread said another favorite of hers was, I can tell you're insecure because you're not wearing a dress. Someone's coming from a perspective about what a woman should look like, how she should dress, and now applying his value system on her dressing style.
What is?
What are
What
you
does the
thinking?
dress have to do with it? What? What?
He
What
must
is?
be
What
old
is?
fashioned. He must think that a woman, should be on a date in a dress, not pants. The woman I'm currently with, I don't think I've ever seen her in a dress in the 2 months we've been together. And frankly, she's freaking hot in jeans and and whatever else she wears. I don't understand that. Why would you associate a
Why they come?
dress?
Yeah. How do you associate? How do you make the connection? I mean, I'm seriously trying to figure out. I'm trying to bend my brain to think like a stupid person would.
Yeah.
It's stupid is so unkind,
No,
unintelligent person,
I'll go with stupid on this
and
one.
figure out what does wearing a dress have to do. I think in the beginning you had to be the stronger woman to wear the pants than a dress because you were expected
Got
to wear.
me.
You know what? The fact that you're saying there's a picture online. I'll have to share it with you later. Cutest little girl going to some dance at wherever, and she has on the cutest little white tuxedo with her little white shoes. Adorable. People have been arguing all day about how that's not girly of her to wear this white tuxedo. So okay, the
Whatever.
girl is maybe 3, 4 years old, if that, and the internet
Whatever.
is on fire. So I guess it just is baseless stupidity. Let's go.
I don't mind that we're all different, and there may be men out there who like women in dresses. That's what they like.
Okay.
But
And
but so then if you're sitting there on a date and the woman's dressed in pants and you're finding you're not attracted to her, you don't have to say that. You can shake that person's hand after the date and say, "Wow, this was a really nice date. Not sure we're right for each other." You don't have to say you're insecure. What?
right, because it wasn't about her whole outfit. He made it personal.
Right.
If he didn't like her for whatever reason,
Right.
and you just were not attracted to her. But
Right.
it wasn't her that you had a problem with. You insulted her
Yeah.
by saying she is insecure. But really, it's he who is insecure.
Right.
He's too
Guys,
insecure
just
to date a strong
please,
woman.
please. And women, same thing. If a guy shows up in flannel shirt and you think he's lumberjack or some rural hick, don't say, "Gee, I guess you're uneducated because of the way you're dressed," or whatever. I mean, stop applying your perception of what intellect is like, what femininity or masculinity is like. Stop telling somebody who and what they are based on the way they appear. Um, Keep that to yourself, but you're free to say to somebody, like, at the end of a date, or if you're going to cut the date short, hey, I really don't think this is working. And I think you're a nice person, but I think this was, a good shot for the both of us. And I'm hoping, you have great luck in your dating. Be kind. You don't have to sit there and hurt somebody's feelings. What the fuck?
So I've set those rules, those ground rules before even going on to a date. And
Be nice.
that's because we're both we don't know each other. We haven't met. We've just spoken on the phone, maybe online, and says, listen,
Right.
if we get into this situation and we're not attracted to each other, we don't like each other, there's anything wrong, it's okay just to say, it was nice meeting you. I don't think we're going to match. We're going to groove. We're going to jive together. And let's just go our separate ways. To me, that takes some of the pressure off of trying to be who you aren't doing out, throughout the date, trying to impress somebody. Because you go, look, you got an exit strategy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you can sort of relax because you don't have to sit there the whole time. I think it may make the date easier because if you don't like the person, you just said to yourself, okay, I'm going to enjoy this coffee or this whatever that we're having. And at the end of the day, we're just
hopefully
not
have a great conversation, the best that we can. Yeah. I mean,
even in the conversation, you can say, Richard, I really enjoyed talking today.
Right.
I think we'll make great friends, but I don't see us as a match.
And, I know there are situations where one person on a date has a totally different perception of the date than the other person. I have heard from men and women who have said to me, God, it was like we had two different dates. It was the most boring conversation I've ever had. And this person just assumed date number 2 was coming up. And I was shocked that they didn't agree with me when I said, really lovely to meet you, but I just don't think this will work. The person said, well, what do you mean? I thought we had a great date. There are people who are like oblivious, and you've got to be conscious of that. What percentage of the population is like that? I don't know, but there are those weird situations.
I don't think it's so. It depends on the situation. For the question I asked you earlier, do you tell them why?
Right.
We just had a date. So, I don't think I should say, Richard, your feet are too big or too small. I don't like your nose or your beard. Just like you say, you can just
hey, my feet aren't too small. I'm telling you right now.
So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna be good today, Richard. I think if it's sex, I'm gonna have to let you know. Some way of not hurting your feelings, but just maybe say we're just not sexual. Either way.
Wait a second. Are you saying you've had an event of sexual nature with the person and then you have to say, hey, this wasn't chemistry, thank you very much? Or are you saying before you get into bed, you figure out?
So I'm giving you two different situations. If it's the end of the day,
thank you.
You've already agreed that, this is not working. We're going our separate ways. We do that.
Right.
But if the date is going well and somewhere, whether it's a week, a month, or whatever,
right,
and there is an encounter and we're not compatible, we're just not compatible.
Yeah,
so I would give the easy answer of we're not compatible.
Right.
And, sort of leave it at that. Now, if they want details, I'm a Libra. Do not, please, for the love of God, ask me for the real true answer because I'm trying to just say, screwed. You're going to get it. But I'm just, it's just like we're not compatible. So I don't think you say that part in the bedroom because that's just too much
to handle in that moment.
People are already nude and vulnerable. You want to have that conversation.
So another one that came up from another individual was someone who said, hey, you're obviously not in the best shape. And this woman said at that time she was 5 foot tall, probably weighed about 108 pounds. And this guy's saying, you are obviously not in the best shape. I'm sorry. Buddy, whoever you are, first of all, 5 foot tall and 108 pounds is a very hot woman. Number 2, why are you even judging a person's fitness or the physique on a date? I'm sorry. If you think that person is not in the best shape, then again, this was a lovely date. I'm not sure we're going to have a second one. best of luck to you in your dating excursions. You don't tell somebody what their physique looks like in your estimation. You just don't. Shut your fucking mouth. That is a rude thing to do, and it has no place in a date. So if there are any men listening to this and that's what they do, and frankly, I have seen female profiles where they have said, if you don't fit the following specifications of what a male body should look like, please don't even talk to me. I actually respect that, because now a guy can just cross her off his list. But I know females who are also into judging, the shape of a man.
If you like girls who are shaped like 8-year-old boys, that's just him.
Ew.
Because there's nothing wrong with the woman. So weight is a hard thing to go by. There's a diagram on Facebook that shows like 7 women. They all weigh the exact same thing. They haven't stepped on the scale, but their body types are so different. And every one of them weighed, I think, was like 165 pounds. So I think, that's a him problem. That's a
Yes.
him problem.
Oh,
That's
big
not
time.
a her problem.
Big time. But still,
I don't have a problem with you having a preference for height, weight, and anything else, but you don't have to be rude about it.
exactly. You know what? Especially if you're meeting somebody in person before you go on a date. You see them at a bar. Geez Louise, you knew exactly what they look like. If their profile pictures were accurate online, you knew what they looked like. I have a female friend who told me that she had a guy before she never met him in person, but he said to her, he said, how recent is that picture that you have there? Because, you have this picture over here and this picture over here. And, which person are you? What the fuck? If you're doubting this woman's body, then at the very least, you go on a date, physically meet her, and make that silent judgment in your head. You don't say anything and be an asshole. And again, thank you very much. I don't think this will work. You don't have to give the details like the Libra sitting next to me here. And just cross that person off your list.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you on this one, Richard.
Okay.
And here's why.
Okay.
There are people who are very intentional. I know of a situation like that. Where the man said, I'm looking for a woman between these ages. I want her to be athletic.
Right.
I want her to have natural hair. It wasn't so much a size thing, but he knew what he wanted. Small to medium.
I follow you.
Health, like a healthy body.
But he put that out there in advance.
He put that online.
That's okay. That's okay because you put that out in advance.
But I'm saying with the pictures, I can understand why he would be upset if you go into a date and somebody has a 5-year-old picture on their Facebook page. Because the lady he met, the picture that she had taken 10 years earlier was that person he was looking for.
Well, that's on the person who was gaming the system.
Yeah, so I can understand why.
But I'm sorry, if you're online, if you have an online profile and you're playing that game, you need to err on the side of politeness. You meet the woman first at a coffee shop or whatever. You make a real-time assessment inside your head. And if you wasted 2 hours at a coffee shop and the total of $8 on 2 cups of coffee that you bought for her, that's the price of admission, asshole.
Well, I was going to say, but go ahead, and then I'm coming in. Go ahead.
To sit there on a date and tell somebody what shape they're in, that's bullshit.
Now, for your friend, I 100% agree. He was an asshole. But if you meet a person online and they misrepresent themselves,
right?
I think politeness goes out the window.
Well, but this person hadn't misrepresented themselves.
No, that's why I said your friend.
And he made an assumption.
Your friend, she is 100% right. He was an asshole. My friend, you get what you get if you're going online and you're misrepresenting yourself. I do think when I put my picture online, I actually put the year that it was taken.
Right.
Because we need to be clear. Tanya in 2021 could weigh more or less than Tanya did in 2018. You know? So yeah, your friend who wrote the thing is 108 pounds. That guy was a complete asshole. But people lie, Richard. So that's why I
I
understand.
totally get that. But
I
again,
understand about the pictures. That's
but
what I'm talking about.
if you're
Completely
making
different
an
than your friend.
assumption, my problem is you're insulting someone before you have any proof. That's my
Right.
problem.
Yeah, he
And
was an asshole.
politeness means and dating online means you're taking a chance.
Like
To
going to
say to
Vegas and
someone,
gambling.
who may be innocent of the crime you're accusing them of, that they've committed that crime and you've already judged them and sent them to prison, that's
Right.
just wrong. I'm sorry, then don't date online because
I agree.
yes, you're
I
you're
agree.
you're going to meet people who are going to game the system, but you don't have the right to then insult someone who says, "No, those are my pictures," and stop being a dickhead. I'm sorry, you just don't. Then stop dating online. Go find a matchmaking service where some woman is going to find you that 5'4", 107 pounds, size one dress with the workout regime of some model. Then go do it that way. Don't hurt people's feelings.
But you know what I find? Those some pot-bellied pigs who want women that look like that.
God, me, I don't know who these guys are because I don't know any of them. I
There's
know
some pot-bellied pigs out there, and they want to find sexy woman with pretty toes and white teeth and real hair, and they look a fat mess.
so here, let's flip this. Let's flip this scenario. This was written to us by a female. She was living in Atlanta at the time, so hopefully you can you can feel this woman's pain. She meets a guy online. She goes to a restaurant, North Georgia, to have our first date. He's 2 feet shorter than he said online. 2 feet.
See what I'm saying?
What the hell was he
That's
thinking?
what I'm just saying. That's
What
what I'm
was he
saying.
thinking?
That's what I'm saying. When you lie about who you are, I think you get what you get because the person has come there with an expectation,
Right.
right? If you go, what? Go ahead. What
He
happened?
dyed his beard jet black, but his hair wasn't dyed. And all he talked about during the meal was the dental work that he had just completed 30 minutes ago.
So he went to a dentist 30 minutes before a date, knowing he wouldn't be able to eat or drink. And he got out of the car looking like Boss Hog. You know who Boss Hog is?
From the Dukes of Hazzard.
He fucking stepped out the car looking like Boss Hog.
Oh my God. I mean,
What
so a
did he do?
conversation killer is definitely lying. I mean,
But what did she do?
outright lying. She said, "Oh, I have a cousin's cookout that I have to go to. Bye.
Right. Bye.
Here's enough money to cover my share of the meal.
In
I'm
North
out of
Georgia,
here."
so she drove 45 minutes to get to the restaurant or the winery.
You got
And
me.
she's in Atlanta. She's going to North Georgia.
But while there's a lot of sort of sexual things that you shouldn't say, and there's maybe politics you shouldn't say, and there's things you shouldn't do, there are some legitimate things out there that even if they're your truths, you need to understand who that person is sitting across from you. And a very dear friend of mine who travels quite a bit said, my conversation killer, I've never been on an airplane, because she is an avid traveler.
Oh, yeah.
That is a big part of her life. And she would find that to be, forget
A
it.
complete turnoff. Because
Right. And that's a legit turnoff.
Legit.
Now, how you present it, it could be that person maybe has never been on an airplane, but maybe they want to be. Maybe there were circumstances. They didn't have any financial security until recently, and now they are eager to travel again. So you got to be careful with some of these things that I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, that you have a checklist of things you're looking for, and you get an insinuation from the discussion during a date that doesn't match up with the boxes you're trying to check. Be careful. Because unless you say, well, why is it you've never been on an airplane? Are you interested in going on an airplane? You may have found the person who's been dying to travel forever. So I dated a woman for a considerable period of time. She had never crossed the Atlantic. And she was 49 years old when I met her. She did have a passport. She had taken cruises. She had been to Canada and Mexico. I think the Caribbean, maybe. But she had never gone to Europe. If I was some kind of snob about travel, I might have destroyed at the beginning a relationship with a very lovely person.
Let's lay hold up. She has traveled some.
Right.
So crossing the Atlantic is just one small step just because she hadn't made it over there.
Correct.
So I don't even, so you would have to really be the biggest of
Asshole.
snobs to turn her. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to say I don't have, I dated a guy who said, I was born in Atlanta. Let me see how this idiot said. I was just talking to my friend about this the other day. I was born in Atlanta. I was raised in Atlanta. I had never been anywhere. I don't care if I ever go anywhere. And I'm gone down in Atlanta and I'm fine with that.
Right.
So I
That's
should say
different.
we went on a date, not dated, because
Right.
how am I supposed to live with that?
Well, so wouldn't that be a door opener though to a broader conversation
So the
of
thing is, he says, I haven't been anywhere and I don't have any desire to even
well,
travel. But
and
then in further
yeah,
conversation, I found out he had been in the military. So he had actually left Atlanta. He had gone to Germany or wherever he was at. Then come back and he said that was enough for him. He didn't care
well,
if he never left the United
that's a
States.
legitimate conversation killer. And you know
Yeah.
what? He's looking for a homebody who stays close to the US, and that's not you. And you know what? That's a good conversation killer. And maybe we should have prefaced the whole conversation with there are conversation killers nobody should ever say because they're just inappropriate. And there are conversation killers that, you know what? Maybe that was a good thing.
Like I said with the size, if it's too big, I have no interest.
I have no interest.
But you know what, Richard? I really do think that literally anything can be spoken about when it comes back to what we said earlier, context. I'm going to add context, tone, and timing. There's a
Okay.
time within the conversation to you can sort of segue into something,
Right.
and it's not brutal. It doesn't just
At what
slap you with it.
so at
Hmm?
what how many dates do you have to be on before a guy can tell a woman you're into tying her up?
So I'm gonna
Is that a
need to, I'm gonna
conversation
need to
killer on the third date, the sixth date?
I need to know
I'm
that
asking for a friend.
I need to know that immediately within 5 minutes. Now tying up, okay, let's see. What just how
I
far are
was
we going
just
in this
joking. We don't
tying
have
up?
to go there.
Listen, I'm like, how far? What are we doing with this tying up? We
Where are
like
we
hanging from
going with
the
this?
bed? Do you have a little thing hanging from the ceiling? I mean, it could
There are
be good.
there's
I just
there's
need
a
to know how
spectrum
far
of
we're going to
tying
go
up.
with this. Yeah, I need
It's,
to know. Just
what was that? What was that
I need
movie?
a diagram.
What was that movie? The 50 Shades of Grey. Are you 50 Shades? Are you 37 Shades? Are you 12
I
Shades?
never saw that movie. I didn't read the book. I don't. I guess I need to. I wasn't really.
Oh my God.
I didn't get the whole fascination with it. But I might
I
do.
I haven't watched it, haven't read it. I just have a working knowledge of what it was about. And apparently it was a very wealthy guy who finds a young girl and
Anastasia, whatever her name was in the
he
book. I remember
demonstrates
that.
all of his fetishes to her.
Okay.
Um, we're going to start wrapping up the conversation tonight because we are heading out towards Christmas. This is our second to last episode. We will not have an episode over the Christmas holiday. We will have an episode right before New Year's. Tanya, Brenda, and I will be offering our number one tip. Each one of us is going to come up with one. So you'll have 3 tips for how to set yourself up for success in 2022. This is based on our own personal opinions, our personal experiences, what we think has worked in the past, what we've heard or read from others that we think works. So please tune in for the New Year's episode. Hopefully we'll have it out before New Year's Eve, and then we'll see you in 2022. So we're going to wrap this up. Tanya, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. When it's just the two of us, I have so much fun. Not that I don't have fun when Brenda's on.
Oh, I'm the party girl with either one of you.
You are. You are.
What are you
So
guys going to do without me?
I see the same dynamic when I'm not there, and it's just you and Brenda. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
Um,
great, right? We can work so
yeah.
well together, all three of us.
That's the way it should be. One person missing shouldn't be a problem. If two of you are ever missing, and I have to do this myself, it's going to be boring as hell. I'll have to get a guest. I'll have to. What is that? I'll call a friend. What was that television show where you could call a friend for help? So we wanted to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate that holiday. Do tune in for our New Year's Eve special about our top tips for 2022. How should you set yourself up for success in the coming year so that at the very least you're enjoying dating? We're not telling you that those tips will guarantee you will find a love connection, but we are guaranteeing that you will be a happier dater if you follow our tips. Any final words, Tanya? Either Christmas wishes,
Just happy
wishes.
holidays to everyone. I'm spending it at home. If you want to spend it at home too, don't let anyone force you to step outside your element. Do what makes you feel better and happier on December 25th.
Amen. I have spent Christmas alone during my divorce 3 times, and it didn't kill me.
Right.
Yep.
Of course it did, or else I'm talking to a ghost right now.
I'm the ghost of Christmas past.
And you spend it with yourself, not by yourself. There's
a good one. I love that. We're gonna have to put that on the Facebook page. You're not
okay.
Yeah, you're spending
$5 for that quote.
Put that on Canva and we'll sell it.
Okay, come with me.
Tanya, my dear, Merry Christmas to you. Miss you so much. I can't wait to see you in 2022 in the real life, that this COVID is going to be cured to some degree and we can all start getting
I got to get to JFK. I want to check out that hotel up there.
Yeah.
They made with the airplane.
Yeah. The TWA hotel.
TWA hotel, yes.
Well, if you come to New York, I know 2 people who want to take you out for a drink. Yeah, well, hey, let's make it a party. As long as everybody's vaccinated, that's all I care about.
Same here.
Okay. My dear, a very Merry Christmas to you.
Same to you as well, Richard. And you too, Brenda, if you happen to see this.
Yes, Merry Christmas, Brenda.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.